Okay, let's talk about a different concept. Let's talk about modes. Let's assume for a second it's 300 before Christ and we run a church, which is sort of the club from back then. And we kind of want to get our audience into the right mood or into a certain mood for the Mass that we are going to hold in the next hour. So how do we get our audience inside of the church into the right mood? We don't have instruments really, but we have a choir, for example, a Gregorian choir, and we can have that choir sing something. So we can affect the mood or the state of mind from our audience by having our choir sing different musical pieces. And if we are going to take a look at one of those classical Gregorian chant examples, such a chant kind of puts people into a certain state of mind, into, in this case, maybe into a contemplative mood. So in a way, it's emotionally affecting the audience. You could ask yourself, so what kind of state of mind do we want our audience to be in? Or what kind of emotion do we want to transport? And that's when modes come into play, because using different modes, you can sort of transport different types of emotions. You could use that in ancient churches, or in modern music, we can use it as well. We can have certain passages of our songs transport certain types of moods, and we can even combine different types of moods and create a mixed spectrum of emotions. You can also think of making a soundtrack in that way and trying to create different sorts of emotions for a movie. Now, going back to our piano roll, we have our C major scale here and our A minor scale down here. And both these scales are also part of what we can call church modes. So going back, how again is A minor in the scale actually different from C major? We are still using the same notes. We're only using the white notes here. We're still using the same notes. We're only using the white notes. We can easily see that if we are folding our piano roll here, only using white notes for both. But we changed the tonic. Here it's C and here it's A. And thereby we also change the structure of the intervals, which is easy to see when we're opening back up. You can see we have two whole tone intervals in the beginning of the C major scale, and we only have one whole tone interval in the beginning of the A minor scale. So the distance between the second and the third degree is a semitone. And because of these differences in the interval structure, our notes end up in a completely different harmonic context. As we learned, our major is more uplifting and happy, and our minor is more melancholic or contemplative or even sad. Now, in between, we have more steps. So what if we create another scale using only the white notes, but starting at D, for example? So what I can do is I can take this C out or drag it up one octave. And I'm not putting it at C, I'm actually going to put it at D. So now we have another scale only using the white notes and starting at D, finishing up here at D. Now, if we take a look at this scale starting at D here, we can easily see and compare with our A minor scale. The intervals of the first 3 and actually 4 notes here are the same. So if I move it next to this A minor scale here, you see up until E, we have the same interval structure with these two scales. So we are also dealing with a minor scale here. And if I'm actually going to put it back up on its root note, which was D, I'm ending up with what we're calling the D-Dorian mode, in which Dorian determines this specific interval structure here, and D sets our root note. So now we have a D-Dorian scale here. The interval structure is Dorian in this case, and our starting point is D. Our root of this mode is D. And now you can use that structure to find out, for example, what a C-Dorian mode would look like. I'm just going to copy the whole thing and place it onto C. And what I have here is now a C-Dorian mode. So this is how we would find out what a C-Dorian mode looks like. And I'm now going to go back to D. It's also easier to figure this one out because it's only using the white notes again. So whenever you're looking for, okay, how again do I come up with the D-Dorian? You just start with D and click in all the white notes on top of that for one octave, and then you're there. And let's play it back. Has its own character. So the sound properties of this D-Dorian mode are kind of mysterious. It's kind of a middle ground between happy and sad. And you have it in pop music, and you can also find it in jazz music. Alright, and before we go to the next part, we can listen to a nice, rather trancy example using a D-Dorian mode.